January 6, 1 year since the worst attack on American soil since the Civil War. Welcome to the first Annual FISHY Awards. This year the competition was high, but there can only be one winner. The envelope, please. I'm so nervous. It's a tie. The winners of the first Annual FISHY Awards goes to the corporate news media.
Good evening. 150 days since the worst single act of political violence since the Civil War.
The 1/6 attack for the future of the country is a profoundly more dangerous event than the 9/11 attacks.
January 6th was worse than 9/11.
January 6th was, in effect, a second kind of civil war.
The worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
The worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
The most serious threat to our democracy since the Civil War.
Why should our soldiers be fighting radicals in a civil war in Afghanistan? We've got our own on Capitol Hill.
Good night. See you next year at the Fishes. Corporate news media, very, very deserving of the first Annual FISHY Awards. Something really stinks. And I think we know what it is. If you ever had any doubts about the motives behind the corporate news media, I used to call them the mainstream news media, but they're really not mainstream anymore. People are catching on, finally. It's taken a while. But their lies have gotten so exaggerated that only a moron would believe what's going on there. There's quite a few morons in the world, and no shortage of that. Our esteemed vice president just compared the January 6th insurrection as comparable to the attack on Pearl Harbor and the 9/11 attacks. In 9/11, 3,000 people died. People jumped to their deaths from 100 stories up. January 6th, one person died. An unarmed civilian was shot by one of the guards in the Capitol. She was unarmed. She wasn't violent. In fact, all of the people were unarmed. There were thousands of people. I mean, if you know anybody that was actually there, they'll tell you there were thousands and thousands of people. None of them were carrying weapons. None of them were trying to storm anything. They were actually let in by the guards, the Capitol guards. People were taking selfies of each other inside there. They were encouraged to come in. The only people that were doing anything violent, well, one guy was found with a gun in the trunk of his car, I believe, and it turns out he was an Antifa member. All the other people were just there peacefully protesting. The whole thing was absolutely absurd. And yet, they've got all kinds of people now arrested without charges made, and they're in solitary confinement 23 hours a day, a lot of them, for a year for doing nothing more than trespassing. And the guys who were instigating violence, somehow they're not even on the FBI list as wanted people. They're walking around free. It looks very suspicious. It looks like the FBI was kind of in on this whole instigation. But yeah, that was as bad as the Civil War, where hundreds of thousands died. Gee, that was nothing compared to January 6th. And yet, a large part of our country believes exactly what they're being told by the media. That this was an insurrection, the most violent thing to happen since the Civil War. So how could they be this, I'll be polite, I'll call it uninformed. It's a nice way of saying stupid, but I don't want to get that way. Let's just call them uninformed or misinformed. How could that be? Well, there was a survey done. I wish I could remember the exact survey, but you guys can probably find it. I heard this on a podcast by a guy named Tim Pool, who's got a very big audience. He was talking about this, that they surveyed conservatives and liberals to see what kind of news media or where they get their information. And it turned out that the conservatives, a large percentage of them, probably the majority, were getting their information from both conservative and liberal news media. And they would use both sides to come up with an opinion of what actually happened. And the liberal side would listen to almost 100% nothing but the leftist corporate news media. And they were very adamant about not listening to anything other than that one very far left point of view. So how can you come up with any kind of an idea or an opinion that is anything other than what you're being fed? In some countries, they call it brainwashing. But I like to think they're not stupid, because there are a lot of people on the left that are very good people. Most of them are good people. But if that's the only place they're getting their news, their opinions are pretty much biased, worthless to say the least. I mean, how else could somebody like Cher come up with a quote saying that if Donald Trump is elected, he's going to put all the gays in prison, concentration camps? Or Bette Midler saying that January 6th was equal to 9/11. I mean, come on. I mean, that's just weird. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say they're not stupid, just totally uninformed. But then again, how does one become stupid? Well, if you're uninformed in enough things, you're going to be very, very stupid. That's kind of like insanity. You know, there's not a switch that you push where you're sane and you push this switch and now you're insane, which means you're rocking and you got a drool bucket and you're, just talking gibberish. It's not like that. You could be very sane on a huge amount of subjects, but insane on a particular subject. So it's not a all or nothing thing. So they're smart, possibly, some of them, and they're just a little bit dumb or insane on this particular issue. I'm not going to beat this to a pulp. I think most of us already know how crazy it is. So let's take a musical break. Here's a song from my latest album, Unhinged. The song is appropriately titled Fishy.
We got Nazis calling everyone a Nazi, scared as college kids trying out to Nazi. Bullshit flying like pearls across the internet. Schools just rubber stamp robots for the reset. College ed, The Walking Dead, didn't really come to learn but burn instead. We got socialists getting pissed, never lift a finger but can raise a fist. So tell me now, what's that smell? It's coming from the screen like a stink from hell. The lips are moving, the face is squishy. You can talk some shit, but it sure smells fishy. Sure smells fishy. Corporate news pushing corporate views, itching for another chance to light a fuse. Talking head, brain dead. They tell them what to say and put the truth to bed. We got perverts sitting in the highest seats. Only the criminals can walk the streets. The government forced you to stay inside. Can't pay respects to the ones who died. So tell me now, what's that smell? It's coming from the screen like a stink from hell. The lips are moving, the face is squishy. You can talk some shit, but it sure smells fishy. Oh, it sure smells fishy. Voter fraud, insurrection, taxes high, fake injection, racist cries, spread the hate, brainwash kids then mutilate. Justice is blind, deaf and dumb. You got enough cash, you can get yourself some. Now I can go on, but I might Something sure smells fishy.
So tell me now, what's that smell? It's coming from the screen like a stink from hell. The lips are moving, the face is squishy. You can talk some shit, but it sure smells fishy. Fishy. It sure smells fishy. 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 Whoa, fishy. I'm talking about fishy.
You know, despite all the hardships we've been going through, everybody on the planet for the last few years, I think there are a lot of really good things that are happening that might not seem so good at the moment, but I think when the dust settles, I feel optimistic. I think the planet's finally waking up, and we can thank two things for that: the Trump presidency and the pandemic. Think about it. When President Trump got elected, the news media and the social media, the big tech, went absolutely bonkers. They went so over the top that it opened a lot of people's eyes. I mean, I grew up probably in the 50s and 60s and 70s, and I always knew, as did many people, that you couldn't trust the news media, you couldn't trust politicians, you couldn't trust a lot of things, but we never knew exactly how bad it was. I mean, I used to think the New York Times was the epitome of journalism, you know, unbiased journalism. Now it's a laughing stock. I mean, they're nothing but a woke rag. Same thing with the Washington Post and Time magazine. Well, they've always been a little bit strange. But now many people's eyes have been opened, thanks to President Trump harping on the fact that it was fake news. Some of us actually looked and found out, hey, what the hell? It is fake news.
Oh, my.
And what did we learn from the pandemic? Well, once again, we learned how fake things can get. We learned that trusting the science has a whole new meaning. Yeah, you should trust Dr. Fauci because he is science. My ass. So now we know the World Health Organization is pretty much run by the Chinese communists. We know that the CDC and the FDA are in bed with the drug companies. The FDA recently was trying to hide the documents from Pfizer for 75 years because there were too many to show to the average person. Luckily, it looks like that's been overturned by a court. So it looks like we may have those documents within a few months instead of 75 years, which was absolutely absurd. Around the world, we're seeing governments show their hands and going just a bit Nazi on us. And That's kind of a good thing because now it's come to the forefront and people are waking up to who is actually governing them and who's looking out for their own good. They've gone so over the top that many serious protests are cropping up all over the world. Thousands and thousands of people are standing up and saying, we're not going to take this anymore. We don't work for you. You work for us. And that's a good thing. It sometimes takes a little bit of over-the-top actions by these little tyrants to wake people up. Albert Einstein said the world is a dangerous place to live, not because of the people who are evil, but because of the people who don't do anything about it. Here's a song I wrote called We're All Gonna Be There When She Dies. Doesn't look like it's gonna happen now, but we still gotta do something about it.
She was young, she was ready, and her future seemed so bright. But a long road she traveled, nothing changes overnight. And her spirit she's forgotten, buried deep within her lies. And we're all gonna be there when she dies. When she was young, she was freedom. There was justice on her mind. There was truth, there was beauty, there was hope for all mankind. Now her darkness is showing, and we should not act surprised that we're all gonna be there when she dies. But didn't we all forsake her and take her for common ground? And didn't we use the best she had and take everything we found? It's a bad time to say it, and it hits between the eyes. But we're all gonna be there when she dies. And we look into the future and forget about our past. We were young, we were foolish, thought the things we had would last. But the dim light of freedom had the seeds of its demise. And we're all going to be there when she dies. But didn't we all forsake her and take her for common ground? And didn't we use the best she had and take everything we found? It hurts me to say it, and it hits between the eyes. But we're all gonna be there when she dies. Now she's lost in the jungle, though she tries to carry on. And the wise may try to find her, and the fools won't know she's gone. And to those who sit and wonder why so few have heard the cries, we're all gonna be there when she dies. But didn't we all forsake her and take her for common ground? And didn't we use the best she had and take everything we found? And it hurts me to say it, and it hits between the eyes. We're all gonna be there when she dies.
When I wrote that, I was a little bit down about how things were going. This was quite a few years ago when I wrote it, 10, 15 years ago. But now I can see things are different. People are waking up. I don't think she's going to die. I think this is a new awakening. I think things are looking up. We just got to keep the push on. Keep making sure people know what's going on. And that's one of the reasons for what I do. I would love to be writing songs about shaking your booty and, I lost you, you lost me, we got back together, and now you're with somebody else. But unfortunately, my mind keeps going on things about the world situation and how we handled it. So, with that, here's a blatant commercial for my latest album, just released, getting incredible reviews. The album's called Unhinged. Unhinged, my latest album, is now available at therealnealfox.com. That's therealnealfox.com. Neal Fox is Neal, not Neil. Please be careful about that. I'm very sensitive. Anyway, the album's getting incredible reviews. I hope you go check it out. You could hear it on Spotify and all the other places that stream music. You can hear it for free. You could download it. You could buy a copy and help support me with a little bit of cash. You know what I'm talking about? Just a little bit of cash. But as always, the very best way to support what I'm doing is share my stuff. Share this podcast, go to YouTube and Rumble and share my music videos. I create all my music videos with my own two little hands on zero budget. Some of them even won awards. So go check that out now on youtube.com/Neal Fox and Rumble/Neal Fox. I don't know, anything /Neal Fox will get you there. And that's the pitch. Well, that wraps up episode 2 of Uncle Neal's Neighborhood. I am Uncle Neal, aka Neal Fox. This is the home for all things avuncular. And once again, I'm going to leave you with these words because I find them to be very, very true. If you find life's getting you down, go out and look for somebody that needs a little help. Helping someone is the best way to help yourself. That's it for now. Thanks for listening. Please share this podcast, and I love you folks. See you next time.